So thank you so much, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the judiciary. And I know, of course, there are a lot of us that are so tired. It's almost like, oh my goodness, every time the judiciary. But at the end of the day, we just have to continue as it is. What do we do as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Like we always say, giving up can never be an option. So that's not something that we are contemplating doing. We'll continue to stand and continue to ensure that our voices are heard. And at the end of the day, definitely there will be that win that we all are waiting for. So thank you so much for joining us and being part of this today. Live with Aisha comes up every Saturday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, where we talk about topical issues affecting Nigerians. We talk about governance. It's basically how do we get our country to work with for every one of us and not just for a few people. Live with Aisha, like I said earlier, is a program to discuss topical issues that affect politics and governance in Nigeria. It comes up weekly at 5 p.m. Nigerian time for him. For those of us who are joining online, you can also be part of this conversation. Just send an email to livewithaisha01@gmail.com so that you get and join us here on YouTube, just so I'll be able to see and interact with those that have joined us already on YouTube. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, all of you. Chukwuemeke Ogugwa, greetings to you too. Uh, 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 Thank you so much for that. So definitely I will share that so people do know that we're already live and we've started. Conversation is on, conversation is ongoing. It's about the judiciary. How do we get the judiciary to have the respect of its people? Remember just last week, there was this thing where the CJN was at a meeting, no, not at a meeting, at a dinner or something that was organized by her, by the Lagos State governor. And this is someone that has a case before the court. So it doesn't look right in any way. I mean, while the CJN is busy telling citizens that they should ensure, not citizens rather, judicial officers, that they should ensure they do not bring the judiciary into disrepute, they should do the right thing. And then she goes on and she isn't doing the right thing. But you did see also that recently some judges had been suspended, some had been asked to refund money. There's 12 years salaries and allowances because of course he ought to have retired 12 years ago, but he falsified his age and he kept working. Another woman, for her, it's 3 years. It's just so unbelievable, some of the things that you get to hear going on in the whole Nigerian space. So let's continue that conversation. Let's have go on while we are waiting for our guest to join us. Chimere Chuya says, hello from Zasa Maruzari. Auntie Asha, did you attend ABU? What school? Why are we asking what school did I attend when we are having a conversation on the judiciary? Yes, I did attend ABU. I started in 1994. That's a long time ago. I was a medical student, MBBS. I left after ABU was closed down, I think somewhere in 1995 or so, 96, and I went to BUK. I finished from there. But I came back to ABU in the year 2000 and I did my master's there. I started my PhD in ABU in the year 2007, and then I got angry and I walked away. It's a long story anyway, but just talking about it is also, this is a story of Nigeria where a lot of things that you want to do, they just get messed up. My goal was to finish, when I finished university, get my PhD before I was 30 and become a professor before I will be 40. That was my goal and I was working towards it. But hey, in ABU alone, I spent 6-7 years doing my master's and I was the first to finish. But anyway, today it's not about me. But these are the things where things don't work. Like I really wanted to do master's in public health in the year 2000. They said, no, I can't do it because I didn't do MBBS, only that. But in other countries, you could do that. I could do that with my microbiology. But Anyway, every one of us, we have that Nigerian story that has sort of like turned us upside down. And so when I finished my master's, I was still determined. The year I finished, the next year I applied for my PhD. I started working 2 years into it. My supervisor was doing anything. And I said to myself, I'm not going to work with this. And I just wanted to get it because for me, I just felt, let me know that I finished education to the way it's supposed to be, not that I'm working as a businesswoman. And then after about 2 years, I just walked away and I didn't. And I tell you, I regret that now. I just wish I just stayed on, that I didn't have the patience anymore. So, hey, whatever you're doing, don't allow anybody frustrate you to the extent that you leave that thing that you were doing. That's what happened to me. And it's also when we relate it to Nigerian story, do not allow anyone to frustrate you when it comes to Nigeria, that you say, oh, I give up on it and then I'm moving on. So there's nothing like moving on. Gani Akinde said we should all be involved and say it when we see people doing wrong, especially with our politicians and individuals. I totally agree with you on that one. Every one of us, we must be involved and we must tell ourselves, even our friends and family, loved ones, don't feel like, oh no, I can't say this, or and the person will not like this. We need to ensure that everything it is being done the way it ought to be done. Like I've said to a lot of people, when we blame INEC is this, police is that, judiciary is, I'm like, no, it's not this thing, it's the people in it. If the people do not participate in doing it, then it's not going to happen. So let's also blame those people and ask them and say, hey, bring this one thing in or that thing in here. So I'm also sharing, sending in the today's link to those who had asked, who unfortunately were not able to join us last week. If you're interested in joining us on Zoom, please go ahead and send an email to livewithaisha01@gmail.com. It's there pinned message, so that we continue to have that conversation. So one of the things we must also understand is the role that the judiciary plays in everything. You know, when you're talking about the different, is it arms of government, right? You have the judiciary, you have the executive, you have the lawmakers, the legislative arm. The judiciary is the one that interprets the laws that are written by the legislative, and it usually has the final say. Whatever it says, it goes final. Sometimes, you know, the way they interpret the law, that's where it will go, except of course you have certain things that you cannot, you know, interpret another way. And even in the interpretation of the law, there are different rules that they can maneuver their way through interpreting it. And so you have the literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule. It was the other one, something purposive rule and all of that. So it helps. So at the end of the day, they're so powerful. But unfortunately, the judiciary in Nigeria has been reduced to the level where they are almost like puppets. It's like they have zero power. They can't do anything. Most times what you see from them is this situation whereby they just become the playthings of corrupt politicians. And these politicians are always ready to rub it in your face that they have the judiciary in their pocket. So it's almost like for them, a thing of pride to say to them, yeah, that they can just, anything they want the judiciary to do, they will do. You saw the other time when Senator Bulkachua was talking about his wife, who happened to be the president of the appeal court, and how he had worked on her to help his colleagues. If Nigeria was a country where things are really done properly, all the cases that had been done when she was president of the appeal court should actually be revisited. But hey, Nigeria is what it is. And then so yeah, the discussion is going to be on how can the judiciary maintain its credibility in the eyes of the public. That's our topic for today. And we have Mr. JIBRIN Samuel OKUTEPA, a Nigerian lawyer and human rights activist. And we have some questions out here that we want him to hear. And he has very interesting, you know, story when you're talking about coming from perseverance to being where, you know, against all odds to be able to achieve certain things. He is one person that really has that in him and has been able to achieve and conquer a lot of those things. So it will really be interesting us just sitting down here and just getting that.
Thank you very much, Aisha. I'm grateful for the privilege to share my thoughts on restoring judicial integrity in this country. And I'm happy that we have all become part and parcel of the people that want to make the system work. So I salute you, I commend you, and I thank you, and all Nigerians for the interest shown in the purity of justice in this country. God bless you. I'm ready now.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure having you, and the honor is all ours. Normally what we do, we just dive right in. I know we're supposed to be reading profile and all of that, but you know, if you're going to read your profile, we're going to spend a lot of hours here. But right now, we are just diving in, and there are a lot of questions that have been coming out. But first and foremost is to say to you, Nigerians are frustrated with the judiciary. And unfortunately, I just don't even know how we're going to get ourselves here. But there's a question someone has asked. It's not supposed to be the first question I'll be asking you, but I just have to ask you so you to understand how frustrated Nigerians are. And she said, Aisha, how do we get rid of this present judiciary? Don't they have a body to check their excesses? Do we have judges? So how do we fix this whole thing?
Well, let me first of all say that the Nigerian judiciary, like all other Nigerians, have found themselves in the present quagmire, not of their making. And I think that we should sympathize with the judiciary in the first place. I know that citizens are themselves almost hopeless, judging by what the political class have subjected us to. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
With you.
Good. So citizens themselves, like you and I, like other persons, like Nigerian judiciary, are Nigerian citizens. And now let me start from the background, not necessarily praising the judiciary, but the fact that once you accepted to be a judicial officer in Nigeria, you have lost every opportunities and every right to go back to either to do practice or to do business. For instance, if I accepted to go to the bench today as a judge of high court, say of XYZ states, and on the bench, the power that be conspired and removed me from the bench, I've lost my right as a lawyer to begin to go back to legal practice, because the law itself prohibits me from going back to practice as a lawyer who has been removed or dismissed from the bench. And so most of these judges are in what I call prison, so to speak. Prison in the sense that they are careful. Nigeria is not a welfare state where if people are removed from office, the state will care for you. Even the old men and women, the adults, those who have given all their all in the service of this nation, seem not to have the rewarding system that you see. When you see people who have worked, going to queue for their pensions and gratuity, and see the rate of which pensions and gratuities of people who have worked have been stolen, and there are no consequences for this stealing that have been done on such a disturbing regularities, then you can understand where the Nigerian judiciary are. Second point, Nigerian judiciary does not have the income of its own. It depends on the executive for for each survivor in terms of money that are supposed to be budgeted and given to the judiciary. So, judging from this background, therefore, one should be in a position to sympathize with the judiciary, that the judiciary had found itself as somebody who had unwittingly been subjected to slavery. And so what I think we should do as citizens is what we do to emasculate, to free the judiciary from the emasculation that it has been put to by the political godfathers and godmothers of Nigerian politics. So for me, we must go back to the basics. We must have a clear, defined boundary between the three arms of government. The three arms of government are equal partners in the project called Nigerian states. Therefore, no arm of government should have a domineering or emperoritic or being an emperor for which every other arm of government should come and worship. As it is today, it appears to me that the executive seems to have the domineering constitutional power, so much so that other arms of government, including the legislature, are subservient to the executive arm of government. Why should it be so? And the reason is very simple. They dictate the pace of governance in this country. So if we are not fortunate to have executives that have the love of Nigeria at heart, if we are not fortunate to have executives that seems to have respect for the judiciary itself will still begin to go cap in hand to beg the executive for survival.
Do they have the financial autonomy, or is it just on paper but they've not gotten it?
Now, the Constitution, as has been amended, says that when there is a budget that is meant for the judiciary, at the end of the budget, when it is assented to by the president and commander-in-chief or the governor of the respective states, the money meant for the judiciary should be given to the National Judicial Council, which is established by Section 153 of the 1999 Constitution, that takes charge of the judiciary, so that that money, as approved either in the federal budget or in the state budget, be released to the National Judicial Council, who will in turn release the money meant for the respective the judiciary, either at the federal or state level, to the heads of courts. And under the law, these heads of court, the Constitution has also created avenue for the heads of court to set up a committee independent of the judges to handle issues pertaining to the judiciary. So for me, we must first of all begin to demand the implementation of Act number 28 of 2023 that was signed into law that gives financial independence to the judiciary. Our judges and the judiciary must go back to the root of purity of justice, purity of adjudication, purity of recruitment, purity of discipline. Look, when a judge forges his age and have no business being on the bench for 12 years, for me, with profound respect, such a judicial officer must not only be recommended that he be dismissed, he should also have his days in criminal court, because if a man or a woman steal a goat or a tin of tomatoes, he goes to jail for stealing. A judicial officer that forges his age and remain on the bench is not fit to be on the bench. That is why it was said that a corrupt judge is worse than an armed robber running amok in any of the markets with AK-47. So for me, the National Judicial Council, under the leadership of His Lordship, and I commend my Lord, Honorable Justice Kekere-Ekun, is a woman of great repute that I know. And I know that he will be in the position to restore the integrity of the judiciary. And what we need to do so, Aisha, is very simple. One, judges who give appearance of impropriety should be shown the way out. Two, lawyers who go to file processes that instigate judicial officers to give wrong decisions should have their way before the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee and be shown the way out. A lawyer who leaves Benue to go to Zamfara to file a process in the name of foreign shopping, or who filed very stupid and downright process to mislead the judicial officer, should, in the same way that the judicial officer is facing trouble, should himself or herself also be asked to face the trouble. And I am happy that the Honorable the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the chairman of the Legal Practitioner Privileges Committee, is a member of the Body of Benchers. The Body of Benchers is the body that is statutorily responsible for discipline of lawyers. It is not enough to say lawyers should not talk. Lawyers are talking because the wrong things are being done and being encouraged. It is time for us to beam our searchlight on the legal profession. And once we get the legal profession right and the boundary is clear, I can tell you the politicians will be whipped to the line. The politicians are having their few days because we have allowed them to do so. Aisha, you can recall that under President Olusegun Obasanjo, impeachment was done in brutal. It took the boldness of the Supreme Court of Nigeria to say that impeachment is justiciable. If you fail to follow the laid down procedure, the impeachment of governor not stop in Nigeria, it stopped. The judiciary have the power to make sure that card reader, or what you call it, beaver's machine, works for the democracy of this country to work. That is why I think that the judiciary need to tinker with the principles of law that you say you must front load a written statement of oath of a supreme witness. That is illogical. It is wrong. It is not commonsensical. It does not attain justice. It's rather creating a roadblock to attainment of justice. And that is why our politicians today are preparing now in 2027 to engage themselves in the most unprecedented rigging of our election using AK-47. Because, my dear sister, as of today, sovereignty does not belong to the Nigerian people. But the people that can restore sovereignty to Nigerian people are the judicial arm of government. So all I need to say, therefore, is that the judiciary should, first of all, know that it's an independent arm of government. Two, that is the only one that can define and determine what constitutes a wrong. Three, is the only one that can pronounce that a wrong is wrong. It's the only judiciary that can say a man is a woman is a man by interpretation. And it must give a purposeful interpretation for sustenance of democracy in this country. If democracy collapses, as it appears it may, if we are not careful, then the judiciary will not have a place even to trade and pile their trade. And therefore, for me, the judiciary is the one that will give itself independence.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you've packed quite a lot there. A good number of the questions that I was going to ask, you've covered them there. But one of the things, unfortunately, we seem not to have with the judges that we have today is judicial activism. They are not putting things in place in that is thinking about the nation rather than about some technicality that they seem to focus on. Like you rightly said, judges are the ones who interpret. At the end of the day, they have the final say on whatever it is that is going on. But this process of recruitment, it's been years that the conversation has been on, and there are certain lawyers that have taken on the issue for years, talking about the fact that our process of recruiting judicial officers has not been the way it's supposed to be. What are the things that can be done to ensure, a process of recruitment that brings in people with merit and also character integrity to the bench?
Until we have judicial officers that wear the shoes that pain Nigerians and know that Nigerians are in hell in their own country, and begin to give judgments that liberate Nigeria from the shackle of the poverty that the people in power have put us, then we cannot talk about the Nigerian system working well. Again, that is back to the judiciary. And the only person who have the power to give direction to do so is the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the various heads of courts. And for me, it can start doing so by one, putting judges who are lazy on their toe to do what they need to do. Two, those who deliver judgment that turns the law on its head should be shown the way out. Not to say you are reprimanded, given suspension for 1 year without pay. After that, you come back and then you are put again to wait on waiting list of promotion. No, by the principles that we grew up to meet, which is a principle of considerable antiquity. When the judicial officer engages in what is not in tune with propriety, even if it has the element of legality, such a person is not fit to be on the bench.
Such a person indeed is not fit to be on the bench. Well, there's so many going on. Like you said, everything has to do with the judiciary, waking up and doing the needful. But in the meantime, as citizens, what we continue to do is to put pressure on them. Remember, all eyes on judiciary should indeed be all eyes on judiciary. Hitherto before now, I think a lot of us had not even really focused on all the things that are going on within the judiciary. But now more and more of us are focusing on that, and we need to all do that. There's a question here from Gani Akinde on YouTube, and he says, my one question to the learned son, what was his reaction or feelings about Nigeria after the 2023 election tribunal pronouncement? That's from Gani Akinde.
My reaction is on my X. I have written consistently that most of the judgment that was delivered in 2023 has legitimized an otherwise illegitimate process that produced the so-called winners of the elections. We all know the truth. And if we continue the way we are going, then shortly people will not even want to go and vote anymore. So my view is that judgment was delivered without justice in it. Nigerian people know that most of the elections that were held were products of statutory illegality. The INEC abdicated its responsibilities. INEC gave Nigerian hope that it was going to be transparent. The result of elections was going to be transmitted via what he called IREF, and that what is filled in the and scanned and posted on IREF will be the same as what you can find from his 8As as sealed and signed. But I can tell you that while we have INEC as an independent institution, those who man INEC that are supposed to work for INEC to be independent are compromised staff office. Most of them are compromised. So INEC is independent in name, but in practice, INEC is not independent. And I said it on many occasions, including lectures I delivered, that Nigerian politicians have bastardized democracy. Democracy in Nigeria is not government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's government of the selected, for the selected, and by the selected. That is why you have some emperors who talk about go and deliver your polling unit, because they have no respect for Nigerian people. Sovereignty does not belong to Nigerian people in Nigerian democracy. Sovereignty belongs to political godfathers and godmothers, and they can say that Mr. OKUTEPA, who is the popular candidate that won the election, did not win the election. They rewrite the result, and nothing can make you to win. That is why they developed the concept of going to court. Because like I've said in so many of my write-ups, it is much more easier for elephants to go through the eye of a needle than the supposed loser of election in Nigeria to get justice in judgment in Nigerian electoral jurisprudence, particularly by the kind of principles of law that defile jurisprudential logic that have been propounded by our judges.
Oh my goodness. You know, when one hears all of these things, you just feel like, is there hope for Nigeria? Because especially the judiciary, they are really the ones that have held us down in this country. A lot of people who ought not to have gotten into office in the first place did get there because of the judiciary and all of these technicalities that they keep talking about. Just looking at the YouTube comments that are coming up, a lot of people just feel like giving up. Let me just ask a question: that do you think there's hope for Nigeria?
Absolutely, there's hope. If there is no hope, you and I will not be sitting to talk. And I'm happy because, look, a good leader must listen to the citizen, either on this YouTube, on the internet, in the newspaper column, or public address system, in the church, or so on and so forth. But the citizen must hold everybody accountable. But I want to plead with each and every one of us. In holding judiciary accountable, we must avoid abusing them. We need to put ourselves in their shoes and see how some of the judicial officers are in excruciating, unhygienic environment. They want to do what is right. Some want to do what is right. The godfathers and godmothers that are infinitesimal number, but who possess the power of coercion, may not want them to do it and say, let me do it and go and rest. So it is time for Nigerian citizens to come out of their docility. Nigerians are too docile. Nigerians are too, they are too comic. You see.
They get distracted easily.
Yes, you see Nigerian people suffering. Easily they are making jokes out of very serious matter. And the politicians are enjoying themselves. They know that we are just, let me describe Nigeria as people very kind, who can easily forgive. That is why I said on the program I was, that notwithstanding whatever perception anyone may have of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria now, the burden is on him to rewrite his name in gold by beginning to do things that bring Nigeria on a world map of integrity or credibility. And let nobody tell me that he cannot do so. Look, there is what we call in the ecclesiastical cycle being born again. For those of us who go to church, 2 persons were crucified on the cross with Jesus Christ. One was said to be an armed robber. On the cross, he said, please, Lord, forgive me. Jesus forgave him. He went to paradise. So my submission to us, therefore, is for us to appeal to our leaders who force themselves on us or who were elected by us to lead us, to say, please, Nigeria is a blessed nation. Nigerians are civilized people. Nigerians are good followers of good and evil. If you have a president that does not want corruption in this country, I can tell you, corruption will flee from the scene in this country. Nigerians look at the body language of our leaders and begin to engage in corruption. And let me also tell you that when Nigeria want to do what is right, Nigeria can go to any length to do it. So my appeal to us, when I go through your this program, I see a lot of people who come there to insult. Unfortunately, these are people who are well educated. They see tribalism as a vehicle to earn a living. Unfortunately, in America that we're talking about, it does not mean that there is no corruption. There is, but people have decided to see that institution works. Donald Trump that won this election, if he were to be in Nigeria, he will not win. Again, in 2020, if Donald Trump was in Nigeria, he would have won. That's the contradiction. So when our institution have no loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but have loyalty to the leadership in power, Nigeria cannot make headway. That is why I believe that if all Nigerians, you and I agree that things must work, and it has to work, and we must do what is right in your little corner as a legal practitioner, if you decide not to take a brief that you cannot justify the income being paid to you, for instance, a brief given to you and money is being stolen from the state government to pay you, you should reject it. So you can do it. And Aisha, let me tell you, Nigeria is not the only country that had come to this kind of hopeless situation and then the country come back. Singapore was in the same place. It took a leader called Lee Kuan Yew to put the place right. Is it not so? Dubai was the same thing. And I was told there was a time one of our leaders was giving speech on behalf of Body of Senior Advocate in the Supreme Court, Chief T.J. Okoko. He quoted that corruption was also prevalent in the justice system in England until the leadership of that country decided to sentence the Chief Justice of that country to asylum. Until we do so, we are just scratching the surface of our problems.
The surface of our problem. There are a whole lot of problems that we have. But I totally agree with you. A lot of countries were once where we are right now, even in the United States, we talk about corruption and all of that. It was rife. It was at a time when people who weren't corrupt were the ones who were made to feel ashamed. But it took the people and also those who got into government to fight and ensure they have a state that is quite good. There's something you mentioned about Tinubu and Nigeria being very forgiving. And I think, I do agree with you. And some of the things that I've said a lot of times is that if, for example, Tinubu coming in, yes, he wasn't voted in, he rigged his way into office. The court, went ahead to legitimize that illegitimacy that happened. And if he had come in and started giving that good governance, making people, giving dividends of democracy, letting people see what good governance is, accountability, transparency, I mean, citizens would be in the place to say, okay, yeah, we know he didn't win, he bet, he's doing this, bet, he's doing that. And like you said, everybody has a opportunity to write their name in gold when they get into leadership position. That's why for me, one of the things I find extremely surprising is that how do you get to certain offices and you don't do so well to be in a position where 200 years from now, your name will be mentioned, like the Lee Kuan Yew, the Nelson Mandela that you talked about. When you talk about the Churchills of this world, when their countries are mentioned, their names are also mentioned. But unfortunately, it seems as if we don't have people to do that. I know you've been on a journey, and I wouldn't want to push it too much. I know you'll be tired.
So I appeal to us, therefore, that for Nigeria to grow and develop and become a civilized nation, we must, one, embrace the rule of law. Two, ensure that things are done orderly. Three, those who are in power must be held accountable. Four, there must be consequences for misbehavior, because the greatest and indeed the bane of Nigerian society as of today, Aisha, my dear sister, is impunity.
Yeah.
Impunity gave birth to corruption, gave birth to impunity. Both impunity and corruption in Nigeria are silent twins. And it's because of this impunity. In fact, on my way to where I am now, in a very narrow corner, convoy were coming, facing us direct and chasing us to the bush, as if the blood in our vein is not a correct blood. So unfortunately, impunity is everywhere. Go to the market, you see impunity. Go to the Okada rider, you see impunity. Go to the garage, you see impunity. There are no consequences. Security agencies, you see them on the road, some of them, they take bribe, no consequences for it. That is why Nigeria is where we are. We are in a very sweet and reasonable ocean, but we are thirsty of both water and food. So Nigeria is a country that is blessed, both in human and natural resources. But it appears to me that our leaders, the moment they go to power, become possessed of a spirit other than the spirit of purity of good governance. And so, even when you talk to them, they believe they are more nationalistic and patriotic than us. That's why in my tweet today, I say something, maybe I read that in closing, that nobody is and I said, let those in government not think that they have the monopoly of knowledge. No, they don't. Whether Nigerians, whatever Nigerians say or write, should not be ignored by those who have the power to decide. Those in power in the three arms of government are there for Nigerians, at least so they claim. So when I see people in government dismissing views and constructing criticism of those of us as anti-government, I feel terribly pained that some people in position of responsibility don't appreciate the needed raw materials of good governance. The needed raw materials of good governance are the views of people that are constructive. Like we talk about absence of justice in this country. I do not agree with the former Chief Justice of Nigeria that judiciary should not take judicial notice of public opinion in decision. They must take, because the beneficiaries of judgment of our courts are ultimately the general public. So the judiciary, in essence, therefore, to restore their credibility and back to the golden good olden eras, must bring back discipline, must recruit lawyers of Spartan credibility, must avoid dancing to the music tune of political class. After all, judiciary is trained in the school of impartiality, while politicians are trained in the school of partiality. And so immorality are weapon to ascend political power, while immorality are far and poles apart from judicial institutions. So we must not therefore engage in approving conduct that gives appearance of impropriety in the decision making.
Thank you so much, sir. I did see your tweet. I was even going to use it towards the end, it's really packed. And where you talked about the fact that it's the fact that you don't have to be in government to know what is needed for good governance. So that's really, key out there. Like I said earlier, you're just coming from a journey, and I need to quickly just round this up so that you go and get the rest that you have. There are some people who have joined us here on Zoom. I'll try to give them maybe a minute each for them to ask their question. In the meantime, to say, Madam Hope, yeah, I did see your message. When you keep sending the same message over and over again, it's spamming, and it makes it difficult for me to see some of the questions that people are putting out there. So please, next time, please, or anyone, just put the message once, and that will be okay. Sadly, I'll bring on Madam Hope now to ask our question. Please, can they do it in 1 minute? I'm going to set a timer as soon as 1 minute is off, whether your question or a contribution. But before I go there, Yemi Adekanola puts your quote and said, constructive criticism are raw materials for good governance, was etched on marble, said by San JIBRIN OKUTEPA. I mean, those are really words that mean a lot. And every person who gets a position and they believe that they, how do I put it now? And they want to do the needful, must listen to criticism. I would say whether constructive or not, just listen to what people are saying and work with it. When you solve the problem, the person who is in that leadership position ends up being the one that will take the glory. So, Madam Hope, good evening, sister. Welcome.
Well, I'm Mama H.O. I am not Hope. Aisha.
Oh, sorry, Madam H.O.
Sam JIBRIN, I would have loved you to see my face while I ask my question, but unfortunately, the host is not allowing my video to open.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I'm sure I tampered with certain things. I haven't tried to make you put on your video, but apparently I might have done something.
It's okay. Sam JIBRIN, when you were talking, you referred to America. But the question for me is this. What yet will you tell me that the judiciary are the one that need to speak and give America their mandate? Can you refer to a particular year? That's to tell you that the judiciary does not have a role when it comes to election. The people are supposed to pick their leader and it ends there. But the judiciary has made themselves to become Oga of all, to be able to get election rigged so that it can come to them for them to perpetuate what they are doing. You also refer to the Bible. And I also want to put it to you, Sir JIBRIN. The Bible said, do not provoke your children to anger. You, the elders and the judiciary of Nigeria, plus the leader, you have provoked her to anger. So whatever we say to you people, you guys have to take it and do the needful. We are ashamed of all of you. Me, I am Mama H.O., the mother of the youth. Did you understand? I am ashamed of all of you, of what you people have turned our children to. You make them who they are today, whereas that is not what God called them to be. You are talking about the judiciary, the so-called president that is there, your president, not my president. The so-called president that is there, he stole mandate. He knew he stole mandate. He knew he rigged his office. When he came into office, if he wanted peace and unity to do, he would have.
Unfortunately, I had to mute you, Madam H.O., because it's actually 2 minutes. You're supposed to have like a minute. I mean, that's the second alarm going on. So sorry, I had to do that based on the time that we have. But he will come in and answer that question. Also, to look at the fact that there's a difference between the bar and the bench. So yes, Mr. Okutepa is part of the. Is it law? Law? No, not law. Part of the, what do I call it? He's not part of the bench. He's part of the bar. So he's not part of the judiciary who actually make judgment. He's one of those who goes there. But he will answer that question himself. Then we have Hugo. Please kindly go on and unmute yourself. Apologies, please. I think I did lock up a lot of things today. I'm just trying to be careful, especially with the experience I had the last time where hackers came in. So I stopped a lot of things before we start, but I don't know, I had stopped the one of video. Next time, inshallah, we'll work on that. So go ahead, please. Now I can't even say you have a minute because Madam H.O. took 2 minutes. So you have to for you to be fair.
I'll try my best, Madam Aisha. Thanks for the opportunity. It's just a comment really around the state of things. I think we all know things are really bad in Nigeria. The judiciary has been captured. We've seen the new CGN and our antecedents in Imo State and, frolicking with Wike and the government and just everything. And we know the legislation is gone. We know the executive is gone. So which way forward? I think we should be looking forward to 2027. And, we all know what the issues are. How can we strategize? How can we stop these people? If we think of going to judiciary, to be honest, I don't have much hope. Through the ballot box, INEC has ruined that chance. So I think we should all put our heads together and say, okay, this is what the enemy is. How do we stop them? Thank you. That'll be my question.
Oh, thank you so much. You didn't even use up to the 1 minute. Thank you so much for being concise, about that. My brother, we are back to you. So you heard Mrs. H.O. Let me also take some of the questions that are here from YouTube so that you just put everything together. Because honestly, I know it's been tough today on you. You've been on a journey, and to be fair, for you to go and read. Someone talked about, I think, referring to what Madam H.O. had spoken about Al Gore and the election. Madam H.O., Al Gore and Bush in 2000. I don't know whether, and the Florida recount when it went to Supreme Court. I think he was trying to also talk about what she had said. Then the other thing I'm trying to see, there's a particular question I saw. I can't see what it is. Okay, can I ask why a judgment by the judiciary cannot be brought under question by an independent body? These are the questions that are out there.
Thank you. Let me start by thanking Madam H.O. She's angry and justifiably too. Unfortunately, I think she's engaging in anger that is directed perhaps not at the right quarters. First, I am not part and parcel of the judiciary. I'm a member of the bar. I practice as a lawyer. I go to court. Secondly, it would be unfair to say that in America, judges don't decide election matters. Somebody rightly said the example of Al Gore, even Florida, and so on and so forth. So in Nigeria, the law allows judges to decide disputes arising from either election matters or other matters. The only issues here is not whether or not it is right for judiciary to decide, but whether or not such decisions are rooted in soundness of justice that meets the justice of the cases and that are not rooted in technicalities. And I have said consistently that we must go back to substantial justice and examine the merit of cases and let judgment that comes out be in line with the factual situations on the ground and not arid colored justice that will tell people and insult their sensibility. Now, when you look at the judiciary in Nigeria, they are doing what they are doing because they find themselves here. In America, there are consequences. The lawyers of President Trump that bought hook, line, and sinker his theory of electoral malpractices in 2020 had their days with the relevant American Bar Association and have been debarred. And so the problem is not necessarily the judiciary alone. Those who are supposed to apply consequences for misbehavior have gone to sleep, either because they are beneficiaries of the rocks or someone close to them is benefiting from the wrong. And you can know that nobody criticizes a system that is benefiting from. You will discover some people who have been vocal before, they are now observing table manner in government. So my take is that we all must agree that all is not well with us. 2, find solution to the problems we have. And the way we can find solution to this problem is for each and every one of us, including Madam H.O., to love this country. 3, it is completely not legal for him or for her to say now that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is not his president, because the act of the president binds you. There is nothing you can do about it. It returns us to old national anthem. Whether you agree to sing it or not, at international level, it will be sung. And so what then do we do to respect the institution of the president? We must distinguish the Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the institution of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we must distinguish the judges who are sitting as judicial officers from the institution of judgeship or judiciary. I have respect for Nigerian judiciary, but there are some judicial officers that have corrupted the system that may not get my respect. So America have institutions manned by Americans who have love for the American society. Nigeria have institutions manned by Nigerians who, in most cases, take their private interests as the interest of government. So until we begin to make that distinction and hold those who go to government, Nigeria is the only country where people seek employment to go to government to make money. So how many of the big men in political offices today can legitimately give account of their source of wealth? That is why I call on the Economic and Financial Crime Commission to resort to Section 7 of EFCC Act and begin to go from house to house to ask people, what are your sources of income? The cars you park, this building, this money you are dishing out, what did you do to end them? The law allows us to do so. But will we allow the EFCC to do the job without beginning to interpret that it is manned by a Yoruba man and he's sending it to Hausa man or Igbo man? So the problem are also Nigerians. And in conclusion, I say that it is Nigerians that have strangulated Nigeria.
It is Nigerians that have strangulated Nigeria. I totally agree with you on that. And like I've been saying that the last few days, it's not the institutions that are the problem, it's the people who are there in the institution. Myself and Mother Hope, we are on one thing. Yes, the office of the president will always be the office of the president. But I personally also do not see Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the former governor of Lagos State, as my president. I don't. I mean, Nigeria, I'm all of that. I don't believe, because I don't believe in legitimizing illegitimacy. And that's why I tell a lot of people who talk about, oh, Aisha, why are you not coming to protest against this government? I'm like, I can't protest against a government that I do not believe in. And you did tell us one thing, which is very critical. We should not go into government to make money. And if anybody that wants to make money, they should go and do business. And for me, 100%, I support this thing about, EFCC going out there to go and ask people for their source of income. If you have cars, you have houses, if you've worked your way in a legitimate manner, there's no how you are not able to say, this is where I got this money that I used to do this and do this. I mean, investments are like your babies. You know how you were able to save this one, what you had to do to be able to get something. So people should be able to explain their sources of income. But unfortunately, like you said, in Nigeria, we always bring the religious and tribal sentiments where people will say, oh, it's because this one is certain tribe or certain religion that they are going after. And even Nigerians themselves will be the ones that will come out and say to you that, see this person was minister for so years, they didn't do anything, they even laugh at you when you go into government and do the right thing without looting or embezzling money. But the statement, Nigerians are the problem of Nigeria, sort of like stays there. Thank you so much, Mr. JIBRIN Samuel OKUTEPA. Let me ask you, do they still put barista before your name, or is it that one for juniors? Because it's been in my head. I don't know what's the proper title. I should have found out.
No, it is unprofessional for any lawyer to call himself barista. It's the job we do. It's like waking up to say you say Okada rider. So I'm Mr. You can call me Mr. or you can call me Chief. It's not proper to say barista, but we are put on with wrong things over the years. And so people take, in fact, Aisha, my sister, in Nigeria of today, it is abnormal to be normal.
So true.
So when you are seeing some of us have lost briefs because of insistence of doing the normal thing. They say, are you crazy? People expect you to make money overnight. And so I think you should also begin to think about what is our level of morality. In those days, you can't come home with a pencil without your parents questioning it or people in the community. But today, community takes ownership of thieves that can dish out money to them and spray on the road. That is why if you are driving in Abuja today and you stop and start spreading either naira or dollars, people will pick it. Nobody asks questions. And I do not think that is poverty. It is the poverty of the mind. When I tell my colleagues who come to work with me that as a lawyer, I trekked for 10 years before I was able to buy a spoke of a bicycle, they said they will tell me that was then. I got trained under the finest of legal practitioners and judicial officers. Late Justice Alaska Nidoko of blessed memory was the Chief Judge of Benue. And all lawyers that trained here drew inspiration from this pattern of life in Egypt, including our judicial officers from Benue. So my suggestion, therefore, is that instead of dwelling only on the judiciary, can a judicial officer file a case before himself or herself? No. Who file frivolous processes that are rubber-stamped by judicial officers? Lawyers. So we should also focus on us. And I have said it, and I want to say it here, that if there is any lawyer or any judge that can say sincerely from his heart that since I became a lawyer for the past 34 years or 33 years or so, I've ever come to him for favor, it should disgrace me. How many lawyers are prepared to do so? A lot of Some of us are Nicodemus. We visit Jesus in the night because of the shame of fraud we do in the afternoon. Why? So the issue is not only limited to lawyers, it's also an issue with the conduct of Nigerians. Where is the MAMSA headed by Professor Jerry Ghana that gives us code of conduct? Why are small children in primary? All right, so I think we should come to an end. The problem are with us, judges and Nigerians, and in the word of my Lord Justice Nikki Toby, they work on Nigerian soil, drink Nigerian water, breathe Nigerian air, and buy in Nigerian market. And so the corruption and corrosion that exists in the pollution of air appears to have also infested them almost in geometrical proportion.
Those are really heavy words. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And I think you've given us another topic that we need to discuss on, which is we have to, another guest we have, will help us discuss what is our level of morality. These are things that we need to question. And for me, just you saying you've put out the challenge out there. If there's any judge that think you've ever gone to them, let them come out and disgrace you. I mean, that is one of the things that one must have. You must have the moral justification to be able to call out corruption. There are a lot of people who have voices, but they can't speak because of one thing or the other that they've done in the past, and they know that someone somewhere can use that over them or bring it out. So it's always a pleasure, having people who can.
Whoever goes to the court of equity must do so with clean hands.
With clean hands. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure having you, and I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. The fact that as soon as I asked, you said yes, you're going to come, and even with the travels, you still came and stayed on and spoke for us for this long. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. God bless you. God bless Nigerian. God reward our efforts. We will have a Nigeria of our dream. Amen. Where no man or woman is oppressed, and things will be done rightly and righteously too, and everyone will be happy for it.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure really having you. And to everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for always being here. And remember that Live with Aisha comes up every Saturday at 5 p.m. So thank you, everyone, and bye-bye. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.